So many people claim that a hotel is just a place to sleep and that a luxury hotel doesn't really matter. Well, personally, I disagree, and today we're going to talk about that. My name is Sean, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin, the other half of the Credit Card BS podcast. Today we're going to talk about, are luxury hotels overrated? Sean, let's get your take on this topic first before I share mine.
So, the argument against luxury hotels, right, is that when I go to a destination, it's about the destination, not where I'm going to sleep. And, I'm going to be out all day. Why do I care about the hotel? And this argument is very sound on the surface, but I think I disagree personally because I think it misses what luxury hotels are more of about. So, first of all, I'll say in city locations, you have a stronger case for that, for sure, compared to resort destinations. I think it would be very tough for you to argue to me that, oh, the Maldives, the hotel doesn't matter. That would just be absolutely absurd for someone to try to argue that, okay? When you go to the Maldives, the whole trip is the hotel. When you go to most resorts, a very large portion is about the hotel, okay? Like, I think that's a very tough to argue. Now, there's certain resort destinations where it matters less. Like, if you're doing Hawaii, you could argue, well, I'm going to be doing other activities on the islands, so the hotel doesn't matter. That's fair. But there's certain places, right, where resorts really do matter. Now, city locations is where I primarily see this argument, taking place, is that I'm going to be out in the city all day. My luxury hotel doesn't matter. And I think if you truly, can't afford a luxury hotel, that's fine. But I think to just say that, it's silly to do luxury hotels and that, oh, it doesn't matter, there's something about it. It's hard to say, but even if I'm out all day, when I come back at night and I'm at the Park Hyatt or the St. Regis or the Waldorf Astoria, and I'm come to my room and there was turn down service and the bed is just so goddamn comfortable, and they have chocolates, by the pillows, and I take a nice bath, and then I wake up in the morning and I go to my nice huge breakfast buffet with great service and amazing food. There's something to me that is just fun about that. And I look forward to the trip more just because I'm staying in those hotels. Even I'm going on a trip, in 2 days, this big international trip. And every hotel I have booked is a top tier hotel. And we're doing no resort destinations. It's all cities. And I have been looking forward to, for months, just staying in these nice city hotels because they're really, really nice. I picked the best ones we can possibly do, at least in this space, without paying absurd amounts of cash. And so for me, that is something that fundamentally alters the trip and makes it more interesting.
Okay, I think that, so overall, you'd say luxury hotels are not overrated?
Yes, that's what I would say.
Okay. I think my take is a bit, okay, I would say my answer to the question of are luxury hotels overrated is more of it depends. I feel like the value of the city hotel in the US is kind of declining because they're getting very expensive. There's almost no really meaningful good service in a lot of places, and you're really paying not for the luxury but for the location. And in those situations, if I'm visiting a destination, so it depends on the purpose of the trip, right? If I'm visiting a destination because I'm new to that area, I want to check out the sites, the tourist stops, whatever, and I'm not going to spend much time in the hotel room, I probably wouldn't pay that much extra money just stay at a nicer hotel if I'm not going to be in a room most of the time. Now, if it's a resort kind of destination and a resort vacation, oh, I absolutely agree. The quality of the hotel is a meaningful aspect of the experience. But if I'm just doing some type of trip where I'm new to the area, I'm there to explore and not to just lounge around in my hotel all day, I'd place a little less emphasis on it. That being said, I kind of agree with Sean that there is something nice about staying at a good hotel, even if it's in a city. But I'd probably only do that if I had good credit card points or hotel points, free night certificates to use, and it was a good value redemption. I probably wouldn't really want to pay more money out of my pocket if it's a city thing and I'm merely paying more money, more for the location than for the the quality of the hotel, which I just feel like is a trend these days in the US. I think we did a episode with Luke from Luke's Points and Miles earlier, where he said that in the US, we really have a hotel industry rather than a hospitality industry. And yeah, that's just my experience. Like, things are so expensive and a lot of times not really worth it. So Sean, what's your take on my take?
So I think actually, yeah, I totally agree with you about like the whole U.S. hotels point. We don't have a hospitality service culture in the United States. We just don't, straight up. And you are right, especially for U.S. city hotels. I'll give you that. Those are overrated. I mean, you're really, unless you're going to a very select few ultra aspirational places, you're not getting a true luxury experience, right? Unless you're doing something like Amman, New York, St. Regis, New York. That's all I got on the top of my head, right? For like truly aspirational.
Would you put Park Hyatt
US
New
city
York
hotels
on the list?
Park Hyatt, I guess Park Hyatt, New York, yeah. But I would still say
Is it
St.
worth
Regis would be
40,000
higher.
points, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
the question.
It's not like that's the thing is it's so expensive, right? And it's like even at the Park Hyatt, New York, I'm sure it's a very nice hotel. Okay, but I don't think it holds a candle up to like most of the Asian Park Hyatts, right? I think that would be a tough argument to make because we just don't have that service culture in the U.S.
But
where,
I mean, for me, it's like,
yeah.
even if I'm not paying cash, I'd rather save those 40,000 points or whatever and do like a resort like Alila, or, you know, use it at the Maldives, which is actually cheaper at 30,000 points, you know? So, I just don't see very much value in that unless, you know, it's a really good redemption. That's, well, I mean, my favorite redemptions are the ones where the cash price is extraordinarily high and the points cost is relatively low. So, you know, if it's those opportunities, yeah, I will sometimes splurge on a city hotel that's more luxurious, even if it's not necessary. But otherwise, it's hard for me to part with my cash for these types of situations.
No, that makes total sense. And I want to open this up conversation a bit more. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on, let's say, what I find interesting, okay, is there's a lot of people, like have you ever been to like the r/solo travel subreddit? Just a lot of like travel subreddits. And it's amazing to me, it's interesting, how many people who don't understand this space at all, right? Like they like to travel. They're really into travel. They're US based, but they don't have any knowledge about travel optimization and credit cards. And they'll be paying they'll be paying money for like hostels and really cheap hotels and really bad hotels. And it's interesting to me because it's like, wait a second, I'm able to like effectively pay less money than you, but I'm staying in a hotel that's like 20 times better, right? Like a St. Regis compared to a hostel. There's no way I would ever go to a place if I could only stay in a hostel, right? Not even just, okay, like sure, you could say, Sean, you're spoiled. And you would be correct with that. But also on top of that, if I'm going to be going to a foreign country that I've never been to before, especially if that's not a super developed country, I think there is a legitimate value in having access to service staff at a full service hotel, not even luxury tier. Just having access to a concierge that actually knows the area and is able to provide recommendations, right? Having access to a staff where if something goes wrong with your room, that they're able to make it right. If you're staying at an Airbnb if you're staying at a hostel or even an Airbnb, right? Like a nicer place, and something goes wrong or there's an issue you encounter, you're kind of out of luck. But guess what? If I'm staying at a St. Regis and something really bad goes wrong, even like outside of the hotel's control, right? I could still, to a degree, ask the hotel, hey, is there any way you'd be able to help me with this? Not like as a compensation measure, but as like hey, I lost my passport. I don't know, what the process is here. I don't know what I'm going to do. Would you be able to help me figure something out? I need access to a doctor or something. I got hurt. Just having that is legitimately helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But I would say, there are many different styles of travel. I'm sure that, and I think they're all legitimate. I'm sure that by like focusing on, luxury hotels and nice redemptions, your travel, or you have probably missed out on really cool destinations and opportunities and things in the world, right? Because you narrowed the things you're willing to do down to this. So I also see that as a disadvantage in some circumstances too.
That's a fair point. I think That's actually a very, very full point. For me, if I was like someone that wasn't able to travel as much, it would be tougher because like I think if I was like very infrequent in my travel intervals, right, I would be much more inclined to go full destination focus, right? I want to go here. I have 2 weeks. I'll make it happen, right? Whether I do have to stay in just like a hostel or an Airbnb or something, I would be definitely more open to that. I think my goal is to travel so frequently that hopefully it doesn't matter. But you are right. There's a lot. It's interesting how many like really cool destinations there are that don't have any, connection with typical like hotel chains. So there's no way to really optimize them other than staying in, maybe like an Airbnb or something, or just paying cash for a very expensive like third party hotel.
But I mean, even in locations or destinations where there are hotels in these hotel chains, like for example in Japan, there are opportunities to stay at, for example, a ryokan, and that's a different experience from like a Western 4 or 5 star hotel that you just won't get. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's just a different experience, and you necessarily limit your exploration by having a narrower focus on maximizing the value. I mean, I'm guilty of this too, because whenever I want to go to a destination now, I go on Hyatt.com and do my first search there, then I kind of broaden it afterward, right? I'm not thinking about what are the cool local experiences I can try. But yeah, just something I think useful for people in points and miles to keep in mind is just like, I mean, it's amazing how many more opportunities I've gotten to travel because of points and miles that I otherwise wouldn't have afforded. But it's also worth reflecting, like, are points and miles holding me back from experiencing other potentially cool things that just aren't in this sphere?
I think that's a very interesting point. Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, to some degree, we are doing that. And I mean, also, like, even just within the points and miles space, we do that, right? If there's a hotel that's very nice, let's say it's on Hyatt, and it's $300 a night, but 30,000 points, we're not going to redeem our points for it. We're not going to stay there. But let's say it was $1,000 a night. We would stay there. It's the same hotel, right? But we're just arbitrarily picking, and it's like, on the surface, it's really stupid, right? Like, we're incentivizing the hotel to charge more money, almost.
Yeah.
But we do that. Like,
same
everyone in
hotel,
the space
different
does
dates, huge price difference, right? And you want to redeem your points when it's on that expensive date, but not when it's cheap, even though it's literally the same hotel, presumably the same experience. And but yeah, it's nice, especially if you have elite status with the hotel. Like, there's still that incentive to get the perks when you go there.
Yeah, it's just something interesting that we do in this space. Like, it just seems so arbitrary. Like, we want to be logical, but it's like, it's not really logical, right? It's the same hotel. There can be very nice hotels, but at the same time, it's like you still have to treat it as you're paying a currency. So you want to make sure you're getting good value from that currency.
Yeah. So overall, my take, are luxury hotels overrated? Not necessarily, but it depends. I would say in most U.S. city contexts, they are overrated and overpriced. If it's a resort, level luxury is an important part of the experience. And also, I'm always considering what the value is of the points I'm getting if I'm able to redeem. So, and also what the purpose of the trip is, and whether there are meaningful aspects of exploration on that trip that outweigh the need to stay at like the nicest hotel, especially if I'm not going to spend most of my time there. So that's my overall take. And Sean, why don't you kind of wrap this up for us today?
Yeah, so the final thing I just wanted to throw in as my take is, let's say you're someone that still isn't convinced by at least my arguments that I like luxury hotels, and it's fair to not like them. But if you're someone that hasn't ever stayed in one, you should probably try it at least once and then make a decision. And when I say a luxury hotel, I don't mean like, oh, I stayed at a JW Marriott in San Francisco. That's not a luxury hotel, okay? It's probably fine. Not a luxury hotel. I'm talking a real luxury hotel, okay? I'm talking like a international Park Hyatt in Asia or a St. Regis in the Maldives. Like a really top-tier hotel. Just once. If you can, make it happen on points or whatever. And if you're still not convinced, fine. But I think you should try it at least once in your life, and then you'll kind of because I think for me as well, like when I was younger, like I didn't understand what existed. When I went, everyone, like a lot of people say the Maldives is overrated. I went to the Maldives and I'm like, it altered my brain chemistry. I understood that this place actually exists in the world And it was like, wow, this is even better than I thought. So I recommend trying it at least once and then making your decision if you can make it happen on points. But yeah, so for me, at least personally, I like luxury hotels, but I do understand the arguments of why people, especially in cities, don't find them as valuable if you're just not someone that's as interested in a space like that.
Cool. So I think that does it pretty well for us today. So what do you think? Are luxury hotels overrated? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Also, please give this a video a like if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out. And if you're considering signing up for a credit card, hopefully so you can try out a luxury hotel without having to spend much money, please consider using one of our links below in the description. It greatly helps support the channel. And Sean, why don't you plug our Discord?
So if you want to connect with an elite group of award travelers 100% for free, check out the Travelane Discord group at the link in the description. You will learn a ton, I promise you. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.